Today, we're diving straight into the secrets of mastering your time. We're going to figure out how to finally escape that crushing, completely universal feeling of having way too much to do and nowhere near enough hours in the day to actually do it.
So let's start with a really simple question. Where do your 24 hours actually go? It's a frustrating reality, right? I mean, you know the exact scenario. One minute you sit down to work, fresh cup of coffee in hand, feeling super motivated, and the next thing you know, it's 5 p.m., the coffee is ice cold, and you've somehow spent 2 hours color-coding your desktop folders instead of doing the actual work. We all get the exact same amount of time, yet it constantly feels like it's just slipping right through our fingers.
So to fix this, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll cover 1. The nature of time, 2. Identifying your time wasters, 3. Proven time management tools, 4. Navigating the digital age, and finally 5. Achieving work-life balance. Let's get right to it. Starting with Section 1, the nature of time, understanding your most scarce resource.
Now, when we think about productivity, we almost always just look at the clock. But the real secret here, the real game changer, is understanding the vital contrast between time management and energy management. Think about it. Scheduling an hour to write a massive, highly analytical report at, say, 4:30 p.m. on a Friday, well, technically that's managing your time. The block is right there in your calendar. But if your brain is entirely fried from a long week, absolutely nothing of value is getting done in that hour. Time is a finite, abstract, non-renewable resource, and yeah, it demands conscious allocation. But if you only manage your schedule and completely ignore your mental and emotional battery, you're literally just scheduling your own burnout. True productivity means managing the efficient use of your mental, emotional, and physical resources right alongside that ticking clock. You absolutely have to manage both if you want to thrive.
So how do we actually manage that energy? Well, it all comes down to understanding your chronotype. That's your body's unique built-in biological clock. Think of chronotypes as the natural rhythm of your energy levels throughout the day. Are you a morning lark who wakes up fully energized and absolutely crushes complex tasks at 6 a.m.? Or are you a night owl who only really hits their stride and gets their best creative ideas after midnight? Or, maybe you fall somewhere in between. Once you figure out this rhythm, you have to stop fighting it. Stop forcing yourself to do intense, creative problem solving when you're practically sleepwalking. And please, stop wasting your absolute highest energy hours on mundane admin tasks. The golden rule here is to intentionally schedule your deep focus work for your natural peak windows and leave the mindless email sorting for your inevitable energy slumps.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, identifying your time wasters, the diagnosis.
Before we can optimize anything, we need to find out exactly where our precious time is secretly leaking out. The usual suspects are going to sound highly familiar. Endless doom scrolling on social media, living inside your email inbox like it's your actual job, procrastinating on the hard stuff, lacking clear priorities, and, of course, those soul-crushing meetings that definitely, absolutely could have been an email. We are all guilty of at least one of these. So, here is a very real challenge for you. Track your daily activities for just 1 week. Literally write everything down as you do it. If you've ever looked at your phone's weekly screen time report and audibly gasped at the number of hours spent on a single app, you know exactly how sneaky and pervasive these habits are. A time audit forces you to face the reality of your day.
Which brings us to Section 3, Proven Time Management Tools, the prescription.
Now that we've diagnosed the problem, let's prescribe the cure. Let's look at a foundational tool for building efficiency, the 80-20 rule, which is widely known as the Pareto principle. This principle reveals a really fascinating truth about effort and reward. It states that roughly 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. For example, in business, 20% of your clients might generate 80% of your revenue. Or in your personal life, 20% of your daily tasks actually lead to 80% of your career growth. The trick here isn't to just work harder on everything. It's to identify those specific, high-yield tasks that actually move the needle. Once you find them, ruthlessly protect the time you spend on them, rather than treating every single item on your to-do list as if they are equally important.
And to help you figure out exactly what that top 20% is, you've got to use the Eisenhower Matrix. It's a fantastic mental model that essentially forces you to categorize your massive to-do list by 2 simple metrics, urgency and importance. So imagine a sudden server crash at your company. That is both urgent and important, right? You drop everything and do it first. But what about long-term strategy planning or learning a new skill? That's highly important, but it's not urgent, which means if you don't intentionally schedule it, it will literally never happen. Then you have that random request from a coworker that doesn't advance your goals. It feels urgent to them, sure, but it's not important to you. That's a task you need to delegate. And finally, endless web browsing or reorganizing your desk for the 5th time. Not urgent, not important. you eliminate it entirely. It's a ruthless system, but man, is it an incredibly effective way to filter out the noise. All right, so once you've selected your most important task, how do you actually sit down and get it done without losing focus? Enter the Pomodoro technique. Fun fact here, Pomodoro is actually Italian for tomato, named after the inventor's literal tomato-shaped kitchen timer. The method itself is incredibly simple but so powerful. First, pick one single task. Second, set a timer for 25 minutes and work with absolutely zero distractions. I'm talking no phones, no extra browser tabs. Third, when that timer rings, you take a mandatory 5-minute restorative break. Get up, stretch, go grab some water. This structured rhythm forces you into a state of deep focus while actively staving off mental fatigue. It turns out, working in focus sprints and resting strategically is so much faster and way more sustainable than trying to run a grueling mental marathon all day long.
Let's transition to Section 4, Navigating the Digital Age, Your Environment.
Look, modern technology is a massive double-edged sword. It drastically streamlines our work, sure, but it also completely shatters our attention span. To survive and thrive in this era of constant information overload, you need what the source material calls digital defense strategies. You can start by scheduling intentional digital detox blocks where you deliberately go offline and just disconnect from the grid for a bit. When you're deep in focused work, don't be afraid to absolutely abuse that Do Not Disturb button on your phone and your computer. Try creating device-free zones in your home or office, maybe the bedroom or the dining room table, just to give your brain a physical space to rest. And finally, automate those tedious, repetitive digital tasks that just drain your daily willpower. By setting these firm, uncompromising boundaries, you are actively defending your focus against a world that constantly wants to steal it.
And that brings us to Section 5, Achieving Work-Life Balance, the Long-Term Cure.
Because ultimate time management mastery, it isn't just about working more efficiently or squeezing a few more tasks into a spreadsheet. It's about building a highly sustainable and healthy life. The core foundation of that balance is developing a growth mindset through tiny, productive habits. You can't just overhaul your entire life and routine overnight. You have to start small. Be remarkably consistent with those small changes. Use environmental triggers to cue your new habits, like placing a book right on your pillow to cue reading before bed, or setting your running shoes by the front door. And always reward yourself after completing a habit to get that necessary hit of dopamine. These tiny, consistent, heavily reinforced habits, they are the absolute backbone of long-term balance and self-care.
Which brings us to a really powerful, grounding perspective material. It says, time management is about making conscious choices on how we allocate our most valuable resource, time. I want you to think about what that really means for a second. Managing time isn't just about crossing things off a checklist or finally reaching inbox zero. It is ultimately a profound exercise in aligning your daily actions with your core personal values. Are you actually spending your hours on things that matter to you? Or are you just reacting to everyone else's emergencies? At the end of the day, your schedule should be a genuine reflection of your priorities.
I want to leave you with one final provocative question. How will you spend your next 24 hours? You now have the right tools, you know your personal pitfalls, and you understand the immense value of managing your own energy. Your time on this earth is completely finite and entirely non-refundable. It's time to take immediate action, stop letting the days just happen to you, and thoughtfully, intentionally design your day.